What is going on, guys? Man, Pastor Benjamin, if you are not feeling that, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Pastor Benjamin brings it, and solidarity across all silos, I think, just speaks so much to who we are and what we're doing here. Like I've said before, when you got a lower middle class, impoverished people further and further down, and taking away more and more control that you have and giving it to the ultra wealthy. I work in grocery. A lot of you guys know about the price of eggs. And I said this, I said, if you want to make an impact, you want to see the price of eggs go down. You want to see this overwhelmingly price gouged product. And I can tell you that. I buy this product for wholesale value as a store manager. I can tell you that Kroger's was price gouging you. Kroger's told you that they price gouged you. They had a man during a committee, during a congressional committee that worked for Kroger say, yes, we are taking more profit off of the price of eggs because we are losing profit in other areas. I told everybody, I said, you want to see the price of eggs go down? Stop buying them. Stop buying them. And you know what? People finally stopped panic buying, stopped buying 6 and 7 dozen eggs for no goddamn reason other than the fact that they were scared and selfish. They're worried. They thought that they weren't going to come in and get those eggs anymore. And well, what if I don't have enough eggs? But eventually, you can only pay for $9 eggs for so long. You can only pay for $10, $12 eggs for so long before people start going, maybe I don't need eggs. And that's what happened. That's what happened. Donald Trump wants to claim he did this or he did that, and blah, 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 blah. He didn't do a goddamn thing. He didn't do anything. Biden called those chickens, the 38 or 45 million chickens over 3 months to stop the spread of the avian flu. Biden did something, Donald Trump didn't. You did something, Donald Trump didn't. Because consumers, and I know this because I sell this product. I can tell you that I saw a drop in 25 to 30% in sales of eggs. By the way, I sold my eggs for cost. I sold it for cost because you know why? I care about my community. Because when you run a business, and when that business sells eggs to take care of the community comes back around and the community takes care of them. And my business is doing great because we take care of people, because we care about people, because the people that own the store that I work for, that I manage, care about people. That's the power of solidarity. That's the power of the worker, the owner, and the consumer all being on the same page and making sure that they are taken care of. This is not something that Kroger's does. This isn't something that Safeway does or Rayleigh's or Ralph's or any of these other big stores, right? And because of you, because you said, no more. I'm not playing into this game any goddamn more. Because you guys did that, the price of eggs pulled back. The price of eggs has lowered. It's still not to where it was. Donald Trump's out here touting eggs that are still over $5 a dozen across the nation. And I know some of you are like, $5? Shit, I wish I could get $5 an egg dozen. $5 a dozen eggs. I wish I was getting that because some of you are still paying $8 and $9 because they're still gouging you. They're still gouging you. But because you did pull back on it, that price across the nation has dropped. Because consumerism is the perfect form of slavery. If you work a week, 40 hours a week, at any job in this country, you should be able to pay your rent. If you work 40 hours a week, you should be able to pay your utilities. You should be able to buy groceries. You should be able to have a family. You should be able to put gas in your car. And if you can't do that, then they have more control over you. The more control that they have over you, the more they take. Because if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile, right? So it really is very important that everybody on here knows this for sure. And that is, we have to have solidarity across all these silos. Every single lane. It doesn't matter if I don't go to church. I support Pastor Ben. It doesn't matter if I'm a secular humanist and Pastor Ben is religious. I support Pastor Ben. It doesn't matter if I'm a white male and he's a black male. I still support Pastor Ben. As he said, there are LGBT people on this space. There are people of different ethnicities. There are different genders. And I support every single one of these people. Now, that doesn't mean at any point that you have to agree with every single thing that any one of these people ever say. In fact, you shouldn't. You shouldn't agree with what every single person on this channel says. Every once in a while, you should stop and you should think to yourself. You should say, wait a minute. I don't know that I agree 100% with that. Wait a minute. I don't know if that's my plan. I've had people on my channel that say, I'll play a video and I'll say, I think that this is wrong. And I'll have people in my chat that'll say, I think you're wrong. I think that you are wrong. And that's okay. I don't want them to leave because of one disagreement. Because each one of us comes from a different background. I come from the trailer park. That's why I talk a lot about MAGA and what MAGA believes. Because if you would have talked to me 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and you would have asked me some of the things that MAGA believes, I might have been like, yeah, maybe that's probably true. You know why? Because I was ignorant. But because of people like Pastor Benjamin, because of people like Matt the Letter Hack and Andrea and the rest of the people that are out here that have been talking and putting forth the information to educate people like myself, because I was capable of hearing things that I didn't necessarily agree with, but I thought maybe I'm wrong. Because of that, now I can say that I better belong to the community that is the human race. Because I care more about more of those people. It's not like I didn't care for people back then. It's that I didn't know how to care correctly for people back then. This is a thing or a theme that the left needs to pick up. Let me just say this. There are two themes that the left needs to pick up and run with. One, we ain't taking no more shit. Because that's where I come from. When I entered this space, not this space, when I entered YouTube, I was like just so far out from most people. Like, yeah, you insult MAGA, you make fun of them, you talk about the way they look, man. I can't get with that. That's not what we're about. But I told people, I said, you guys stop letting these people push you around, man. You guys stop letting them weaponize your empathy. Because that's what they do, is they weaponize your empathy. They know you're empathetic human beings. They know that you care. They know that if there's a person on the right that's LGBT and I call them out, or Pastor Ben calls them out and says, hey, you shouldn't be MAGA if you're LGBT. You shouldn't be supporting the patriarchy if you're a woman. Like, that doesn't make any damn sense. You can't have this type of person that is MAGA, that pushes people around the way they do, the way they bully, without having a spine. You draw a line in the sand and you say this. If you cross that line, you are going to fuck around and you are going to find out exactly how mean I can be, how insulting I can be, how motivated I can be. Because I defend mine and I defend my values. So that the first thing, you got to have a spine. And the second theme that the left needs to pick up and run with is solidarity. The understanding that the diversity of thought that exists on the left is actually a really good thing. You should care about different things than other people within your realm of politics. One person may say, you don't know enough about Gaza. You don't know enough about this thing that's going on. But that doesn't mean that you disavow that person, that you push that person away, that you excommunicate that person. Instead, you educate. And then instead you say to them, you say, hey man, it sounds like your opinion on what's going on in Gaza, in my opinion, it doesn't seem right. Can I tell you some things that I know? And guess what? You might not walk away from that conversation feeling like you converted somebody. But you help to educate them. And as long as you can leave that conversation feeling like, you know what? I spoke my truth. I hope he heard it. Or I hope she heard it. I hope they heard it. And you hope that overall, we build a bigger, stronger, more consolidated base. Like I said, you're not going to agree with everything that every person ever says. And if you do, you're in a cult. That's MAGA. MAGA doesn't care that the Epstein files, they're worked up right now. They're so worked up right now. But you can see the cope in the gears right now. You watch stuff on X if you're still over there. If you're still over on X, you watch the slow cope, the slow roll of the NPCs. The Charlie Kirks put out things for him to say. The Tim Pools put out things for him to say. And then they slowly start going, oh, I'm not, it isn't Trump's fault. It isn't. Actually, the more I think about it, the more I think, man, he's probably got a plan. If we have Bob Menendez or we have Eric Adams, and we play a video of Eric Adams, and we say, it looks like this man took money from foreign countries to do things for them. He took bribes from foreign countries. Then we should be able to say, though that man is within our own party, we disagree with what that man did. And if somebody comes out and goes, hey, you're supposed to be on the left, you have to support him. And you go, well, how about Zoran Mamdani? It seems like that man has a much closer set of values to what me and you have. Why aren't we voting for him? Well, the establishment says that we got to vote for him. We got to vote for Eric Adams or whoever else, right? Like, you got to be able to think. You got to be able to say to those people around you, yeah, this guy may or may not have at one point shown values that I agree with, but at this point I don't. And if that person would like to come out and have a discussion, and maybe we can educate each other, then maybe we can move forward with this relationship. But that's not what Eric Adams is doing. Eric Adams has gone full MAGA. So I really love what Pastor Ben says, and I always get fired up sitting here listening to Pastor Ben before I come on. It's one of those things that, like, I'm blessed to get to come on here after Pastor Ben comes on, because it gets me fired up. Just getting to sit here and listen for 15 to 20 minutes before I get to come on. And it makes so much of a difference for me in my life, and I hope that I pay that forward to you guys as well. So I want to talk about some things today. We're going to see if we can push the buttons correctly. I want to talk about some things today. Oh, look at that. I actually have the buttons. Look at me go, guys. I want to talk about some of that cult stuff. I want to talk about it. So, right now, as Pastor Ben pointed out, we have a massive amount of deportations going on. And this was all part of the plan. Project 2025 spelled it out for them, but they can't read. And there's a lot of these people that are kind of like, oh, hold on. I don't know if I voted for that. Well, hold on. I didn't know that my wife was going to get deported. Why? I don't know. I don't know why these people thought that. Somebody else is gonna have to educate me on that and explain that one to me. Because I can't wrap my mind around it. I can't figure it out. But there's still also people that are coping. People that they are so brain dead, so brainwashed, The term they use for Marines is they call them jarheads, right? And so you twist the top off, you put whatever you want in, you take whatever you want out, and then you put the lid back on. That's what MAGA is. And if you take a look here, what we have here is a woman who was detained by ICE who voted for Trump that is saying now, I don't care. She's detained. Literally being detained right fucking now. And she's saying from the detention center, Donald Trump's doing the right thing. He's cleaning up the country. And go ahead and take a look at this. Take a look at this picture. Take a look at this picture. What do you got here? You got indoctrination. You got indoctrination at its finest. This woman was a immigrant who came here when she was 3 years old, who later on in life committed a breaking and entering charge, who then went on to marry and attempt to live her life in a way that I'm going to give her the best faith possible, that was a good life. And how did she repay that grace? She said, if I could have voted, by the way, immigrants can't vote in a presidential election, no matter what Elon Musk tells you, no matter what Donald Trump tells you. The lie is always right in front of your face. She said, if I could have voted, I would have voted for Donald Trump. And as you can see, her husband as well, her kids, the height of indoctrination, are wearing MAGA hats. MAGA hats. In fact, ironically fucking enough, the one kid is wearing a hat that says, "Take America Back." Like, how do you even write this shit? You couldn't, if this was ChatGPT and you asked it to write a script, it couldn't do it this well. It couldn't do it this well. A kid wearing a hat that says, "Take America Back," and his mother had her green card revoked. Now, she was going through all this stuff, right? She was actually going through the process to legally reobtain a green card. So let's read a bit about it. She says, she would have cast her ballot for Donald Trump. She's a devout supporter of the U.S. president, even now that she's locked up as an illegal immigrant. He's doing the right thing because lots of these people don't deserve to be here, she says. I wonder if she's talking about criminals. I wonder if she's talking about people who committed breaking and entering. I wonder how she would feel if she was that young woman that made that mistake. And right now, not just Donald Trump, but half the country was rooting for her to never get the chance to do the things that she did while she was here in America. I wonder how she'd feel about that. She says, I will support him until the day I die. He is making America great again. Now, of course, she's wealthy. Of course she is. 60 miles away in her home in Diamond Bar, a wealthy suburban city in eastern Los Angeles County, a Trump flag flies over the family's front yard. MAGA hats adorn a shelf next to a family photo album while the family's pet bird chirps in a cage. Just more irony keeping a bird in a cage. I'm just so you guys know, I'm not with keeping birds as pets. I know some of y'all are like, fuck this guy, I got a bird and I like it. I told you we ain't gonna agree on everything. Let that bird free, man. It was meant to fly, let it fly. Says, it's a lively home with 3 dogs and 4 young children. And her mother and husband are bleary-eyed and exhausted with worry, trying to put on brave faces. Our home is broken, her husband says. So it goes on to say that this is an American success story, a prime example of how the country gives people second, even third chances. Her mother wells up with tears as she talks about her daughter who has lived in the U.S. since she was 3. She had a rough patch many years ago in 2008 when she was convicted of burglary and grand theft and was sentenced to 2 years in prison. An immigration judge revoked her green card, which is common practice, but because she is a Christian Armenian Iranian, the judge allowed her to remain in the country instead of being deported. I wonder how this woman feels about Abrasio Garcia. I wonder if she thinks that he should get the same grace that she did. I wonder if this woman can respect the irony of not giving any due process to a man and then sending him over to a concentration camp in El Salvador. I wonder how she feels about that. She goes on to say, we are Christians. She can't go back. There's no way. That's what her husband said. Because she'll be persecuted. She'll be persecuted by Iranians. He fears her life would be at risk if she was sent back. This is a photo right here of her being confronted by ICE in her front yard. First of all, how lucky is she? She got a phone call. And then they showed up to her house and they detained her and sent her to the detention center. How lucky is she that she wasn't chased down by men in masks that are driving in unmarked cars? How lucky is she that didn't happen to her? She gets to go out and talk to him. Why? Why did she get to do that? Because it turns out if you got enough money, just like Pastor Ben was saying, you can hang out. Well, you can't hang out for too long. And just like what Pastor Ben said, that's going to happen to all these people. They're working their way up the ladder. And if you think you're safe now, you ain't going to be safe later. It's just, they're just working their way up the ladder. They want to hire 10,000 more ICE agents to get to a point where they can deport your ass to. They just don't have time for it right now. Okay? The plan isn't just deportation. I said this the other day. I said, they are getting rid of people in low level, low skill, low education jobs. Why are they doing that? They're doing it because they want to cut the social safety net out from under American citizens that they can't deport, that they don't want to give health care to, that they want paying more taxes and buying more shit. And what did that ag secretary say out the other day when Donald Trump heard a good idea from his ag secretary? She said, how about we give amnesty to these farmers, their workers, because these farmers are very upset with us. These farmers are upset that we're getting rid of their labor and it's all falling apart. And Trump said, oh, that's a good idea. How about we don't deport those ones? Because Donald Trump's not a very smart person. He's the owner that steals the ideas from the employees, right? That was a great idea. Thanks to me for coming up with that. And he said, we're going to probably give amnesty to these people. What happened? MAGA said, no, you're not. No, you're not. Why? Because I was wrong about something. I said that Trump could do anything and his followers wouldn't stop following him. But I was wrong. Because Donald Trump can do anything that is evil, anything that helps to instill anger, anything that helps to instill fear, and his base will follow him. But if Donald Trump even ventures to tip a fucking toe into the pool of giving anybody a pass, helping them to have a better life in America, they will actually revolt against him. And they did. And what did Donald Trump's ag secretary say? She said, oh, there's not going to be any amnesty for any of these people. Just so you guys know, don't worry. Don't freak out, guys. Don't freak out. We're not going to give amnesty to these brown people. Okay? All right? Stop it. Just stop it. Stop being mad at us on Twitter. And who did she say was going to take those jobs? She said, we got a bunch of people that are living in their parents' basement that are playing video games that can do those jobs. And we don't really need to get into the whole hypothetical situation of if this person even existed, which they don't. And if they do, they exist in very small amounts. But we don't need to even get into the hypothetical situation of what it would look like to take a 35-year-old lazy dude that plays video games in his mom's basement and stick him out in the fucking fields. This is the plan. First, they deport the people underneath so that way they can free up jobs, so that way they can force people to work, people that can't work, that need Medicare, that need social safety nets. And why? Why? Because they want your tax money, because they want you to buy more shit. because you're a consumer, and consumerism is the perfection of slavery. But if you don't think that they're going to work their way further and further up top, then you're wrong. Because another part of what that woman said, that ag secretary said, was, we're going to use automation to replace some of these people. And guess what? Guess what? The jobs that get replaced by automation are factory jobs and white-collar jobs. You think they want this woman? Do you think they want her taking up space that they could have one of their people in? No, of course not. So if you think you're safe, you ain't safe. If you're Caitlyn Jenner and you're like, over here on MAGA, I can be transgender and I can talk mad shit about other transgender people and I can get away with it because I don't give two shits about the left and MAGA has embraced me. Well, guess what? At one point or another, when they finally give in to MAGA and they have ChatGPT print out an Epstein's client list, guess who's going to be on that list? Because they're going to need a sacrificial lamb. They're going to need a George Santos. George Santos get a pardon, guys? I haven't heard anything about George Santos getting a pardon, guys. Why not? The Chrisleys got one. George Santos has been a loyal dog for these people. A loyal dog, shit on his own people, lied about everything. No pardon. If Caitlyn Jenner thinks she's safe, well, just wait until that ChatGPT Epstein client list comes out. Okay? And fucking bookmark this. One of them's going to be on it. Brown folk, black folk, LGBT folk, you ain't safe. They have a big ass party that's going on right now, and you weren't even invited. You just showed up. And they're willing to let you hang out for a minute. But when they get the chance, when they have the numbers, your ass is gone too. So right now might be the best chance for most of those people to maybe tone down the rhetoric, maybe look for a way to get back into the crowd, because at one point or another that door is going to be closed. So more with this lady. So since release from prison, where she had broken into, committed grand theft, she started a successful business and family among hundreds of thousands of Iranian immigrants who call Southern California home. West Los Angeles, often called Tehrangeles, has the largest population of Iranians outside of Iran. Some, like her, have been detained in recent weeks, swept up in immigration raids that have put the city on edge, while the majority of those detained in LA come from Mexico. Daily updates from the Department of Homeland Security show immigrants from seemingly every corner of the globe have been arrested. How many white people have you guys seen? I saw like one dude from like Norway. One dude from Norway. And it is in their best interest to sell this. They could have said, hey, look, you guys say it's nothing but brown people, but look at all the white people we're doing. Nope. Nothing. Zero? Of course not. Because it was like that one Norwegian dude got caught up. They were probably confused as to whether or not they were supposed to detain that man. They probably showed up to that man's court hearing, were looking around, they're like, where the brown folk at? Wait a minute. The white guy? Oh, we got to do the white guy. Oh, shit. Oh, okay. Sorry, sir. Sorry. Turns out you got to go. Trump was elected in part because of his promise to launch the largest deportation program of criminals in the history. Her mother and her husband still say they believe in that. They say they have faith that she will be released and believe that only hardened, dangerous criminals will actually be deported. That's what she thinks. She thinks that she's gonna get out because she did her crime 2008. That's what she thinks. While many of those detained do not have criminal records, she is a convicted felon, which makes her a prime target for removal. ICE, of course, did not respond to the request. No way. Her husband says he doesn't know the details of the burglary. They barely spoke about it before they were married, and then he forgot about what he considered a youthful indiscretion by his wife. Steady focused on his wife's good deeds over the last 17 years, volunteering with the local school district and bringing food to firefighters and police. We all make mistakes, he says. Like I said, I'd love to be a fly on the wall when Abrasio Garcia's face is pasted on Fox News and this man is watching it. I'd love to see that. I'd love to hear what his opinions on that. What does he think? Because I guarantee you, I can tell you what he thinks. I can tell you what he thinks. And that is, no, that's a violent criminal. Oh, you don't know that though. Do you know anything about the man? Well, yeah, I know everything Fox News has told me. Well, what do you think Fox News would have said about your wife? In 2008, when your wife was arrested for breaking and entering, what do you think they would have said about your wife? I'll tell you this, it wouldn't have been she deserves a second chance, a third chance. Nah, that's not what they would have said. And that's definitely not what he was saying. I guarantee you, when he saw Kilmar Garcia. So when ICE phoned her, June 30th, as I said, she got a courtesy call. She lives in a nice neighborhood. As the family was having breakfast, the couple thought it must be a joke. But immigration enforcement pulled up to their home 30 minutes later. Despite signs all over Los Angeles County urging immigrants to know your rights and not open the door to immigration enforcement agents, the couple came outside to speak with officers. Because they thought they were different. I'm sure she told him, I would have voted for Trump. I would have. I love it. Let me show you my MAGA hats. They have a flag with fucking Trump's name on it. You ain't the right color. You ain't the right fucking color. It's that simple. She explained how a judge had allowed her to stay in the U.S. because of the situation in Iran, as long as she didn't commit any other crimes, and as long as she frequently checked in with immigration officials. Her last check-in was April. She showed them presenting her paperwork. This is the exact same story as Kilmar Garcia. The same thing. The man was arrested for loitering, mind you, not breaking and entering, a crime a lot less than what she did, for loitering, and then got the same deal. Don't do anything else. You get to stay here, check in with immigration, and you can work your way towards citizenship, which is 100% what should happen. She deserves that right. He deserves that right. Every single person in this country deserves that right. The immigration enforcement agents told her circumstances had changed and they had a warrant for her arrest. They allowed her to go back inside and say goodbye to her children. That is crazy. How many of these people being ripped off the street were even given that? None of them. Zero. That's a rhetorical question. So we thought what we'd been seeing on the news, flash bombs cornering cars, Arthur says, they didn't want to risk her being violently detained, possibly with their children watching. She came and kissed the kids goodbye. She came outside like a champion, he said. Here I am. Because you know why she's so fearless? Because she still believes that she's not like these other immigrants. These other immigrants are criminals. They're bad people. They're the ones that give us all a bad name. That's what she believes. That's what she believes. That's why she came out like a champion. Or else her ass would be running just like the rest of them. Or else her ass would be getting tackled just like the rest of them. I knew my kids were watching from upstairs, he said. I didn't want them to see their mom handcuffed. So they took her to the other side of the car to handcuff her for these people. That's what having a Trump flag in your yard gets you. She says those being held at the building she was brought to were treated like animals. This is how much these people lack empathy. She sees how these people are being treated in these detention facilities and calls it like being treated like animals. She said she was held in a freezing, brightly lit room with 28 other women for 3 days. They survived on snacks and 1 bottle of water a day. She says the women huddled together for warmth and slept on the floor. Because she speaks 3 languages, Armenian, Spanish, and English, she was able to communicate with many of the other women and says they helped each other. Well, you don't say. Like a little socialist experiment in the detention center. 3 days later, she was moved to Adelanto, the privately run ICE detention center in the desert northeast of Los Angeles, which has a reputation for harsh prison-like conditions. At least she didn't go to Alligator Auschwitz. But she says it's much better than what they faced in downtown Los Angeles, now having 3 meals a day, access to showers, and a bed. Though she's heard it's difficult to get medical treatment if you need it, she is young and healthy. Like, mind-fucking blowing the lack of empathy that a person would still believe that Donald Trump is helping anybody, knowing the conditions that these people are being forced to deal with within these detention centers. And yet she's sitting there like, I'm better than you are, I'm gonna get out. She says it's still very challenging. She and her husband say they still have faith in the Trump administration and believe that she will be released. I'm not deportable to any country. Go ahead and ask Kilmar Garcia about that. Ask him if that stops anything from happening. But that hasn't stopped immigration officials in the past. In February, a group of Iranian Christians who had just crossed the border from Mexico were deported, but to Panama, not Iran. She remains hopeful for a reprieve, but she notes that she felt discouraged too. She says she loves America and that she feels American even if she lacks the paperwork. She calls her husband collect once an hour so they can share updates on her legal case, though so far there isn't much to share. The older children understand what's happening, but their 4-year-old daughter keeps asking when mommy is coming home. He says all 4 children are U.S. citizens born and raised in California. For how long? For how long? These are the people that want to see birthright citizenship taken away. Does this woman understand that the very process that Donald Trump wants to make law, wants to make it the law of the land, is to remove her 4 children from this country by taking away the very birthright that the 14th Amendment has given them? No, she doesn't know that. She doesn't know that because these people are in a cult. She says, I have 4 citizen children. I own a business. I own a property. I own cars. All right, that's weird flex, but okay. I haven't done anything wrong in so many years. Yeah. This is the level of ridiculousness that is going on right now in the Trump cult. And the reason I want to talk about this is because, like I said, you don't got to agree with everything I say. Sometimes you might be like, this angry ginger's mean. I don't like how mean he is. I don't like how he makes fun of people. I don't like how he insults people. I'm okay with that. Not everybody should be mean. I am thankful that all y'all motherfuckers aren't just like me. We need some angry gingers and we need some Pastor Benjamins. We do not need a nation of angry gingers. It would be like Highlander. It would be like Highlander, guys. I'm dating myself. It'd be like Highlander. There can be only one. There can only be one. And believe me, we'd go around taking each other out. That's what would happen. That's what would happen. It's already bad enough. You get 2 gingers together. There is tense. There is drama. We can only get along for so long, and that usually involves some type of beer. All right? But the craziness of the MAGA cult, the brainwashing of the MAGA cult, to think they're going to do this, but not to me. They're going to do this, but I won't be affected. They're going to take America back. From whom? When they say take America back, who did you think they were talking about? The trans? Is that who you thought it was? Is that who you thought it was? No, they're taking it back from you. Because you aren't the right color to make them feel comfortable. Because when you are here, the only reason they ever want you here is to work the jobs that they don't want to do. And you are now taking up the jobs that they think these people that are on Medicare, that they can't deport yet. Trump's working on it. You're taking up those jobs. So you got to go. You got to go to free up those jobs for these people. You know, Trump's working on getting the rest of these people tossed out of here. the American citizens. It'd be great if we could get rid of the homegrowns, he said. So, you know, at one point I actually might be neighbors with this lady in Iran when my ass gets deported. When my ass gets deported, all right, I'm probably going to be fucking sitting next door to this lady going, this is your fault. Now I'm over here, Donald Trump's talking about bombing my house. Called me a terrorizer. I am a terrorizer. I'm mean. People get really worked up about that. But we ain't done there. We ain't done there, of course. There's so much more, my friends. There is so much more, of course. So let's bring up some more. Let's bring up some more. Fuck around and find out. Let's talk about the call. And let's talk about, because like I said, there are people that are like, hold on. There are people that I say this, and you guys, here's a part. You're going to disagree with me a little bit. I've been saying this for a long time. There are splinters in the Republican Party, which the Republican Party does not exist anymore, guys. It doesn't exist anymore. There are splinters within the Republican Party, right? And that party... Oh, I gotta stop sharing. Here we go. I'm gonna figure it out. I'm trying to do two things at once here. Those splinters that I'm talking about are, you have what's left. Oops. Where'd that come over here? All right, there we go. All right, there we go. Those splinters are what's left of the Republican Party. People that they claim to be fiscally conservative. They claim they're concerned about immigration. They claim they want small government. I say claim because the majority of this shit they don't actually believe. And whenever people actually come out with this stuff, they don't actually. All they really want is to be selfish ass people. But yeah, people that are conservative that are still in the Republican Party, they're slowly making their way more towards the Libertarian Party. Then you have your religious Republicans, the people who say, well, I think that the Bible should be taught in school. I think the Ten Commandments should be on the wall. I think that LGBT people don't exist, right? You got the religious zealot right. Okay? Those people love Trump because Trump got their foot through the door so that way they can move Project 2025 forward. That is the Heritage Foundation. That is the Stephen Millers. That is the Stephen Votts of this country. And then as you move further and further to the right, you get to the MAGA people, the Trump supporters. And those people, some of them, you guys are going to hate me for this, but some of them believe the bullshit Donald Trump was saying. They're like, well, I don't know. You know, it does seem like Fox News is always doing news reports on these immigrants in New York harming people. I think that's really happening, and I think that we should do something about it. Or they say, you know, I don't have enough money to pay my rent. I don't have enough money to buy groceries. The eggs are expensive. Energy's expensive. I can't buy a house anymore. A lot of these are young people. And the reason that I believe that this is happening is because there are immigrants in this country. Because it's all fear, it's all anger, it's all hate, it's all vitriol on the right. That's what it is. It's the party of hope versus the party of hate. It's the party of we versus the party of me, right? So those people, there's still just a grain of consciousness still in these people. Now, they don't give two shits as long as it doesn't affect them. If it never happens to them, they will stick to their guns. They will happily tell you about how Donald Trump is fixing this country. But some of those people, when it does happen to them, they're like, well, hold the fuck on. Cletus! The eggs are still expensive down at the Save Mart. Isn't that weird? Shut the fuck up, Brenda. I'm watching Fox News. Some of them are like, oh, wait a minute. I had a good paying job down at the factory, and now they replaced me with a robot. They said that wasn't going to happen. They said, what? I can get a job in the coal mines? I don't want to work in the coal mines. I can get a job in the fields? I don't want to work in the fields. Brenda! Brenda, they trying to make me work in the field. That's there's still some people over there. All right. And then as you get further right, You get the MAGA brainwash, the people that'll never believe that nothing, they're conspiracy ridden, they have no purpose in their life. They want to, they're victims. They want to believe that everybody else in the world is at fault, but definitely not them, right? Those people are never coming back. And then if you go even further right, that's right, you can go even further right, you get to QAnon. In the first year of my channel, I covered QAnon, and I'll tell you this, it got me banned. I shit you not. Covering QAnon got my channel demonetized and banned. I had to beg at the feet of the YouTube gods, prostrate myself and confess my sins to the YouTube gods to get my channel back because I covered QAnon, and let me tell you, it's fucking spicy. All right, they had a whole fucking a whole cadre of potential PDF files in the Democratic world and celebrities and elites, and I made the mistake, guys. I paused for too damn long on that image, and I'll tell you why. Because they had Eminem on there. They had Eminem on there. I was like, they ain't doing my boy like that. They also had Akon on there, and I was like, I don't know. I'm not a big Akon fan. Who knows? I was covering, I remember it like it was yesterday. If you guys don't know about this lady, you should look this lady up. She calls herself the MAGA Queen of Canada, okay? And she believes that Canada was stolen from her, that hereditarily she has the right to be the Queen of Canada. And she travels around in an RV and goes to all these different places. She convinced these Trump supporters in Canada, guys. She convinced Trump supporters in Canada. I don't even know how that's a fucking thing. She convinces these Trump supporters in Canada to buy Trump bucks from her. She gets them to sell their homes and travel and follow her around like some weird ass cult member groupies that don't even get to have sex. That is it. I mean, isn't that the only reason you become a groupie? That's what I thought. Anyways, I digress. She gets these people to buy Trump bucks from her. She tells them, they literally email this lady saying, ma'am, you know, we got some issues. It turns out that PG&E Canada won't accept my Trump bucks for my electricity bill. And she said, fuck that. You just send them a strongly worded email. You told them that the Queen of Canada, the rightful Queen of Canada, says they better accept those Trump bucks. And these people, these brainwashed ass cult members, lost their houses, lost their lives, lost their families, and I lost my channel. Because my ass this whole time had that fucking thing up on the screen. And if you've never had a YouTube channel, when you get banned from YouTube, guys, you don't get told why you got banned. You just get a whole thing that just says, you done fucked up, AA Ron, take your shit and go. And I was like, oh no, I don't know. So I looked up a video, and I said, I sent them messages, because that's what they said. They said, send YouTube messages saying, hey, I think I know why I got banned. Let me just explain to you what I think I did wrong. And this took probably about a week. I think it took about a week of me messaging them over and over, having live chats, going out on Twitter, all this stuff. And I said, I think it's because I had them that graphic of PDF files up on my screen. Was that it? They didn't tell me if that was or not, but I like to think that was the problem. It definitely wasn't, because I'm an angry ginger and I yell at Trump supporters and they actively work to get my channel banned, which is probably actually what happened. Anyways, I'm just saying there's some of them that recognize, and then there's people that are just fucking gone, guys. And so what we got here, we got a More Perfect Union video called "He Voted for Trump, It Cost Him His Job." I don't watch these videos. As you guys well know, I don't watch these videos. So it's always a fun game to play, guys. What do you guys think? Do you think this guy is going to be upset with Trump? Which part of the spectrum are you guys putting this young man on? Now, I'll give you some hints because it's More Perfect Union. If this was Jordan Klepper, if this is The Good Liars, you know this man's going to say some crazy shit. Because it's More Perfect Union, this man's probably going to have like at least half of his frontal lobe left. Okay? Half of it. The rest is just wasted away in Fox News and conspiracy theories. But most likely, this man's going to be a little sad about losing his job. We're going to find out about that. We watched a video where this IRS guy, of all people, a fucking IRS guy, of all fucking people, voted for Trump. He voted for Trump. I'm like, if you were in the IRS and you voted for Trump, you deserve to be fired. I don't know how to even explain to you how fucking stupid you are. And he was 10 toes down, guys. He's like, I understand what Trump is doing. I understand. I get it. So I don't know. This might be him. This might be it right here, guys. He'll say, I need to speak with the manager. Dude. Stella. He said, I need to speak with the manager. Oh, man. Oh, dude. He looks like he chews Formica as a hobby. Oh. Guys, I gotta look at the chat more. It's hard because usually I got my chat right here in front of me, but I don't know how to pop out this chat. I need to do that. I need to figure it out. Oh, those are good. Oh, those are good. All right. So let's watch the video. Let's find out. Let's find out what this man says.
I had heard people say if you vote for this, you're going to get what you voted for. But that's what people say every election.
A catastrophic wave of layoffs is hitting electricians.
My brother. My brother in Christ. Yeah, that's usually like you can get health care. Or maybe like the minimum wage getting raised. Shit, if it's Bush, it's like we're going to war. Like, I mean, it's usually not what you get when, like, Trump doesn't. The one thing you got to give Trump is he loudly tells everybody exactly what the fuck he's going to do. Like, you got to be a special kind of stupid to be like, I just didn't see this coming. I'm putting this guy in the IRS. He's now in the IRS, actually. This dude's in that category.
In Maine. It may be a preview of hundreds of thousands of jobs that could be lost nationwide after President Trump and Republicans just repealed billions in clean energy investments.
It was like a light switch got opened, and all of our work just disappeared overnight.
Don't forget to hydrate,
We went
guys.
to Maine, where a solar boom has already come to an abrupt halt.
I got laid off at the beginning of May.
Oh no, if you work in green energy, yeah, if you work in green energy, you in the IRS. You right there too. And people don't understand this. Like, I come from the health food industry, right? So I've been repping green energy for a long ass time, right? Before it was cool. So if you don't understand this, installing solar panels, one of the guys I work with actually took on that job. One of the guys, when I first began working at the store I work at, when I first began there, he was a cashier, I was a department manager. He actually got a job in solar panels. And he fully created a career for himself and now has a wife and children and a home, built himself the American dream off of working in solar panels. The Inflation Reduction Act brought extra funding to these types of things because I'm the type of person, I'm like, you shouldn't hate Chinese people. You shouldn't hate China, right? You can hate the government for all the shit they do with the Uyghurs, all the stuff that happens with the way the government, encroaches on the privacy of its citizens, all that stuff. But China as a whole, the people that are over there are just people like me and you. Just people like me and you. They just want to go to work, pay the rent, eat some good food, go to Taco Bell every once in a while, make some mistakes. You know what I'm saying. But what they're doing, they are our competitor. And competition is good. Competition breeds innovation. That's something that we've talked about a million times here in America. They love to tell you about that shit. Well, right now, what is going on in this country is we are stepping the fuck out of the race. China currently is a 100-meter dash, and we are 50 meters into this dash, and China is about 10 meters ahead of us because they've already done a better job than we have. Donald Trump doesn't even know how many wind farms China has. He just today was like, I talked to the guy, I talked to Xi Jinping, I said, how many wind farms? He said, not many. He's so dumb. He's so fucking dumb. So they're already light years ahead of us when it comes to green energy, which means by the time we get out of this mess that Donald Trump has made, we're going to be even further behind. They're going to have finished the 100 meters, and they're going to have started on the mile, and they're already about 1,000 meters into it. I don't know. Is that a mile? Trailer park educated. Don't know the metric system. If you don't understand, solar energy was the perfect place for people that don't have high education, that aren't super skilled to get into, to learn a skill, to learn a trade, something that MAGA talks about constantly. For these people to build careers, to get good paying jobs. The Infrastructure Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, the microchips, the Science and Chips Act, all of those bills that were put forth by Joe Biden were created to create jobs for the middle class that you could get into. The Chips and Science Act potentially could have brought in 500,000 good paying jobs that give health care, jobs that allow you to buy a house, that allow you to feed your family. Over the next 10 years, 500,000 jobs. And Donald Trump wants to squash it because Joe Biden did it. If you are a MAGA supporter and you worked in green energy or anything that wasn't the dumbass shit that he's talking about constantly, you shot yourself in the foot. Or even better, you cut your own nose off to spite your face. You said, man, I'm going to make them liberals cry. And you did it by slicing off the front half of your face. And you know what? At the end of the day, I don't really have much empathy for you. Because you did this to yourself. And not only did you do it to yourself, but you did it to a bunch of other people that didn't want it to be done to them. That's crazy.
I haven't gotten any calls yet.
I'm on unemployment right now, and in the state of Maine, that's $595 per week, and I pay rent, that's $1,350 a month.
This has nothing to do with our local union or the companies around us bidding jobs. It solely comes down to what's happening in our federal government right now.
We came here to talk to electricians who voted for Trump to understand
Jesus, they did.
how are they thinking about his agenda now that
God
it's costing
damn it.
them work. We're outside Bangor, Maine, and we're headed to meet an apprentice electrician who's been working steadily for the last several years, but suddenly he finds himself unemployed, and he wants to talk to us about why.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how are you? Sam.
Braden, come right in.
Thank you so much.
A good friend of mine in high school, he was 3 grades above me, and whenever I'd go over to his house, he'd have $2,000 guitars, like a $5,000 Marshall amplifier. And I'm like, where are you getting all this money, dude? And he's like, well, I'm an electrician. I'm learning to be an electrician. You should do it too.
Braden House is an apprentice electrician who last year voted for Trump.
After finding out I was having my daughter at 17, I'm like, I need money.
Man.
And it ain't going to be spent on guitars and amplifiers. It's going to be spent on diapers and make.
These are the people. These are the people that we want to help, man. It's insane, the brainwashing. Like, how can you listen to Kamala Harris talk about building 150,000 new homes? Talk about helping the middle class. Talk about making the child credit permanent. Talk about taxing the ultra wealthy, taxing capital gains. Building a better America for the middle class. How can you no. Yeah, he didn't listen to a goddamn word Kamala Harris said. What am I saying? This man, I'll tell you what this guy would say. If you asked him, if you said, why didn't you like Kamala Harris? He would say, she doesn't know how to talk good. It's one of the craziest things I've ever heard before. She's a prosecutor. Her job, she was in the Senate. She's a politician. Her job is to talk. That CBS edit that they cut down that Donald Trump got so mad about, the reason they edited that was because she used more words. And in today's society, if you use too many words, that's stupid. You use too many words, you lost me after the second sentence. And I guarantee this guy, if you asked him why he didn't vote for Kamala Harris, he'd say because she's not very smart. She's not very smart. I guarantee that's what this man would say. These are the people that Kamala Harris wanted to take care of. These are the people that the progressive left wants to take care of. I don't want to see your daughter, man, going hungry. I don't want to see your daughter homeless. I don't, I have enough empathy as a human being to recognize that if I want you to do poorly, that means your children are. And if your children do poorly, that means society does worse. And if your child can't get a good education and your job isn't good and you can't provide food, then things are worse for you, which means that things are worse for the rest of America. Because a rising tide lifts all boats. Like, motherfucker, we trying to help you.
In the future for this kid. I applied to the apprenticeship and heard back in March of 22, and I started work 3 weeks after I graduated high school. I'm a 17-year-old kid. They're asking me like life experience questions. I'm like, I don't know, dude. I work at a Dunkin' Donuts. My first week I get in, I get a check for $1,300 for a 40-hour week, and I'm like, yep, this is what I'm doing now. I'm sticking with this.
Man.
Obviously, you see the arrays of solar panels, and you see underneath it.
Braden took me to one of the 8 solar projects he has helped build over the last several years.
Nothing beats like just before August, like May to June in a solar field.
I remember being on a solar field one day, and I get an email of my Lincoln Financial account. I'm like, holy shit, I've only been doing this for a year and a half, and I have $3,000 in my retirement account.
Why do you think?
Do you think you can make that much money working the coal mine? You think you can have health care working the coal mine? You think you can have a Lincoln Financial account working the coal mine? Fucking spoiler alert, dog. None of those things exist in the coal mine. None of it. And Donald Trump doesn't want you to unionize either. So if you think, well, man, I'll get a job in the auto factory. First of all, there's not a lot of jobs in the auto factories anymore. Most of them are automated. Second of all, if there's no unions, then the auto factory doesn't pay you good money. You don't get health care, and you definitely don't have a Lincoln Financial account. Like, this is insane. And when you look at what's going on in Texas right now, right? Texas notoriously has had issues with providing enough energy during natural disasters to keep the lights on, to keep the heat on, right? And yet, Texas has started to do better and has been able to keep that grid up and running for longer. And these dipshits will never figure out that the reason behind that is because of green energy. Because Joe Biden said it. They said, did you know that the red states are actually benefiting from the Inflation Reduction Act more than any of the other states? And he said, good. They need it. They don't know what was in the Inflation Reduction Act. They don't know what the Chips and Science Act means for the future of America. These are people that believe we shouldn't be in Ukraine right now. Oh, you don't like being in foreign wars? Oh, you don't like that? They think that we shouldn't be funding Ukraine's defense, right? They ain't got shit to say about Israel, but they got a lot to say about Ukraine. Well, let me help you out with something. What do you think happens when China invades Taiwan? What do you think happens when semiconductor production comes to a halt and every single thing that you have in your home, in your car, at your work, in your pocket, has a semiconductor chip in it? What do you think happens when the country that produces over 90% of America's high-end semiconductor chips gets invaded? The same country that produces over 60 to 70% of the chips that are used in our everyday life. What do you think happens? America has to get involved in that war. And I have other reasons why America should. Humane reasons why America should be involved in that war. But if you're just thinking strictly economically, when China invades Taiwan, America has to defend Taiwan. Because you know why? Because we never brought back those jobs to America. Because we're going to squash the Chips and Science Act, which would have brought those jobs back to America. We have an example in COVID of exactly what happens when China invades Taiwan. During COVID, we saw the price of used vehicles skyrocket. The reason that we saw the price of used vehicles skyrocket during COVID was because people were given stimulus, which allowed them to purchase products. Once again, consumerism, perfection of slavery. So people went out and they bought new cars. But what happens when you can't produce any more new cars because there's no more semiconductor chips to put in those cars that they are filled with? Well, you don't have any more new cars. So the price of used cars goes through the roof because now people buy up all the used cars, and the people that are selling the cars recognize this is their chance to take advantage of you and start price gouging you. Like, these people can't think further than their nose, right? Like, whatever is right in front of their face, and this is why Trump's rhetoric is so successful with these people. Hate, anger, fear, vitriol, those things are really easy to just put directly right in front of a person's face, and they can't see anything past that. Everything behind that is a blur. These people can't think further than what they've been told by Fox News. They look at that and they go, yeah, I should be angry. We need to get the immigrants out of here. We got to stop being in Ukraine. Not foreign wars anymore. We don't say that anymore. Just Ukraine. That's it. And they don't even know, like, the solution is literally just a little to the left. It's fucking insane.
The work was so steady.
Because there were so many solar projects. You can't go anywhere in the state without seeing a solar field or multiple.
It kept every electrician in our local union employed.
Scott Cuddy is a longtime electrician out of the same union local as Braden. He told me that until recently, there were so few jobs for electricians that they had to take across-the-board pay cuts to get work.
We had 0 solar projects going on for years and years and years. Guys were traveling to other jurisdictions to go work on solar projects.
That started to change in 2022.
Oh, we about to talk
President
about it.
Biden's signing of the Inflation Reduction Act today comes after more than a
Did not pre-watch. I just know my shit.
year of negotiations among Democrats in Congress.
The Inflation Reduction Act was the largest federal investment in clean energy jobs in American history. It provided tax credits that encouraged business to build renewable projects like solar, wind, and battery storage. And as those projects multiplied, the landscape for skilled trades workers transformed.
The rate for a union electrician is currently about $39 an hour. In 2020, we were at about $29, $30 an hour. So we have seen an enormous increase in the wages for the people doing the work, and that's because...
Ask UPS workers. So UPS is offering severance now to their workers. Why are they doing that? Why are they embracing automation now? Why are they doing that? Because a pro-union president no longer occupies the highest office in the country. When I have a friend who works for UPS. When he started, he was making about $18 an hour. He was working in the warehouse. When he moved to being a driver, he moved to like 21, right? And then slowly, over the next, not slowly even, UPS actually pays really well, just so you guys know. Not financial advice. UPS pays really well. But over the next 4 or 5 years, he was going to make about, I think like 35 was their cap. And then they go on to get cost of living increases. They get really good benefits. They get tons of vacation, paid holidays. Their overtime is out of this world. And because of the contract that was partially pushed by a pro-union president, Joe Biden, now they make something like 43, I think, is their cap. And they start making that within 4 years or 5 years of driving. Plus the benefits, plus the vacation, and everything else. And now, within 6 months of Donald Trump becoming the president of the United States, they are now asking those drivers to retire, to quit, and they have fired or laid off, I believe, something like 2,500. This isn't rocket science. This isn't hard. If as Trump was going out of office, these guys were making $29 an hour, and then as Joe Biden is instituting the Infrastructure Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, the Chips and Science Act, all of a sudden you're making $39 an hour. You don't need to be a fucking genius to recognize that when The liberal president, the Democrat is in office, you made more money. Yet these dipshits will claim that during 2017 to 2020, they made the most money they've ever made in their lives, brother. It's fucking insane. It's not rocket science. This is easy fucking math, even for a Trump supporter. Crazy.
Because when you have work to do, you get bargaining power.
They were so desperate for people, they'd raise the amount of money they'd pay you per hour to get you there, and it was competitive. Companies were competing on how much they would pay their guys to get the amount of guys that they needed to finish these solar fields. Solar, it fed my family.
Competition.
Solar lined my pockets, and it gave me work for years.
Take me through your thinking. What was your thinking when you decided to vote for Trump?
When I voted for Trump, my big thing was I agreed with his stance on immigration. I agreed with his idea of no tax on tips, no tax on overtime.
Yeah, how'd that work out? You know what they're doing on tips now, right? You know that you don't get taxed on your tips now. Instead, it goes into your total income for the year, and you get taxed appropriately at the end of the year. Like, these people, they just get offered stuff, and then they never look at the fine print. And let's just be honest. Everybody wants to say, oh, I agree with no tax on tips, or no tax on Social Security. Also a lie. Also a lie. They say that, but let's be honest. Let's be 100%. You voted for Trump because he made you scared of brown people. That's what it was. 24/7 sold the fear that if you don't vote for him, that you will eventually be replaced by some immigrant that came across the border after walking across 2 countries with a fucking child on their hip. That's what you thought. You thought that after years of working in the solar industry, that some dude from fucking Honduras was going to come across the border and steal your job. That's insane. And you want to know the reality? The funniest thing about that is that Trump embraces H-1B visas. And just like Vivek said, we don't see a lot of Vivek anymore. We don't see Vivek. They did something to that man. He gone. They embrace H-1B visas. You know the jobs that immigrants are going to start taking? It ain't going to be in the fields, dog. It ain't going to be as an electrician. Well, actually, it's going to be probably electricians. That is actually probably high enough up there. There's a bar that they bring H-1B visa people in for. They're indentured servants with education. It's like the perfect fucking thing for these people. They can bring these people over on H-1Bs. They can threaten to deport them if they don't do a good job. They can pay them less than other Americans, and they can get better work for them. So actually, I'm wrong. They're going to take your job. Yeah, that's ironic. That's really ironic.
Liked his stance on no new wars. And now we're seeing the exact opposite happen. The immigration thing and Palestine were 2 of the biggest things that turned people off to the Biden administration and to the potential Harris administration. At least in who I've spoken to on job sites.
What was your reaction when Trump was elected?
I was not surprised.
But were you happy? I mean, you voted for Trump.
Yeah, I was pretty happy. Happy's not the right word. I was indifferent. I was more, great. The better of 2 evils. Let's hope nothing goes bad. And then now it's going bad.
Since January, at least.
And that's why when people say they're all the same, both parties is like, I can't deal with that shit anymore. You can disagree with Kamala Harris's policies. You can disagree with Kamala Harris's history. I will fucking fight you on that because I debunked so much of that shit leading up to the election. All the shit about Kamala Harris putting people in prison. Kamala Harris was actually one of the most forgiving district attorneys. 45 people out of all of those people that were arrested over her 7 years, 45 people did time. Most people were given rehab. In fact, the program that she created while she was in San Francisco reduced recidivism to a 50%, from 50% to 10%. Recidivism was 50%. And the people that went through her program, it reduced recidivism to 10%. It was so successful, that program that Kamala Harris put in San Francisco. It was so successful that states across the country, including red states like Georgia, or I guess it's purple, they instituted it in their police force as well. Like, you can disagree. There's plenty of people on the left that I have disagreed with over Kamala Harris. But it is not the same. It is not the same. You cannot look at Donald J. Trump and look at Kamala Harris and say, 2 birds, 1 wing, brother. You know what I'm saying? If that is your opinion, you're lazy. I don't give a shit if you're in here. Matt's probably like, don't do this. Matt's like, don't do this, Ginger. These aren't my subs. I'm losing anymore. I'm sorry, Matt. But it's real. That's what you get from me. You're going to have me on this channel. This is what you're going to hear from me. If you think it's 2 birds, or two wings, 1 bird, you're lazy. You're fucking lazy. Because it took me probably a month, I would say, once I knew that Kamala Harris was running, and I knew all the shit that was said about her. And I started out just like a lot of people. I was like, I heard she put people in prison for weed. I don't like that. I heard that she denied a man's request for appeal on death row. I heard that she doesn't speak well. I heard all those things. And now I have a 18-page document of all the accomplishments of Kamala Harris, of all the times that she fought for consumers, all the times that she fought against the death penalty, all the times that she did things that were surprisingly progressive to me. Because I was an establishment Democrat, right? Establishment Democrat. So if you don't know those things and you're still saying 2 wings, 1 bird, it's because you're fucking lazy. And I don't care if you're on the left, I don't care if you're right, or you claim you're independent. If you still believe that shit, it's because you're lazy. Sorry if that hurt your feelings.
$14 billion of renewable energy projects have been canceled or put on hold across the U.S., including 3 big solar and battery developments in Maine.
The February union meeting of this year, of 2025, the business manager during his report said, guys, I can chart out full employment to mid-2027 right now. At the March union meeting, he said, we're going to be looking at 50% unemployment this summer. It went from, I can see full work, get your strength back so you can get back out on the job for the next thing, till 2027, to we will be at 50% unemployment this year. The uncertainty has devastated the construction industry in Maine.
Insane.
I think an important point in this is the tax credits aren't even gone yet.
A week after this conversation, Republicans in Congress passed Trump's so-called Big Beautiful Bill, drastically scaling back investments in solar and wind. The bill rapidly phases out the Inflation Reduction Act's clean energy investments, preserving funding only for projects up and running in the next 18 months. That will likely derail hundreds of billions of dollars of planned construction and eliminate hundreds of thousands of jobs.
Yeah, what did the electricians union say? They said that Trump's policies will eliminate something like 800,000 electrician jobs. Crazy. That is fucking crazy. You know that in the private sector, the last jobs report, they lost 33,000 jobs. Did you know that over the first 4 months of Trump's presidency, the retail and leisure industries, private industries, lost 64,000 jobs? So when they show you some bullshit numbers from Donald Trump, don't forget, once again, those numbers aren't me and you. Those numbers don't reflect what is happening in middle-class America, and it damn sure don't reflect what's going on in my life. Right now, Walmart is cutting jobs. UPS is cutting jobs. Big businesses are going bankrupt. Prices are going up. Tariffs are taking effect. And places like Walmart are pricing in for it. Places like Target are pricing in for it. When they show you bullshit jobs numbers where Trump's like, well, it's actually still growing, and you get these dumbass fucking completely right-sided fucking economists that go on there and go, actually, they said a lot of bad things were going to happen, but so far it's pretty good. You need to recognize two things. First of all, they're not giving you the statistics that matter. They're giving you the nice ones that they want you to be like, oh, actually, see, it wasn't that bad. Second, we just started. It only gets worse from here. The economy and the sentiment of the consumer are terrible. You think that, if you're a person that's like, the economy was actually kind of bad under Joe Biden, you are about to find out exactly how bad this economy can get. Because this is just the beginning. We're not halfway through. We're 6 months in, dog. We're just getting started. You better diversify your portfolio. If it wasn't for the fact that fucking the stock market decided that Trump's a coward and will not follow through with, once again, his tariffs being pushed back now to August. If it wasn't for the stock market recognizing how much of a coward Donald J. Trump is, if it wasn't for that, the stock market would be in the 30s right now. The only reason that the stock market is still as high as it is because they're like, don't worry, this dude's a coward. He ain't going to do none of that shit. He ain't going to do none of it. That's the only reason. And by the way, the stock market don't mean shit to you or me. The stock market is a great indicator of how the wealthy people in our society are doing. So that should continue to go up. The wealthy people in our society are going to continue to do better and better every fucking year without a doubt. But I made this argument when MAGA supporters would come into my chat during upcoming moving towards the election. Sorry, I said, why do you think Biden, before Biden dropped out, why do you think Biden should go? And they're like, this economy. I'm like, okay, so explain to me what's wrong with the economy. They're like, it's bad. All right, what do you mean it's bad? I'm like, because by every metric, GDP, the stock market, what do you mean? Because all those metrics say that the economy is good. They go, well, you just need to look around, bro. And this just shows the short-sightedness, because I can make their argument better for them. The reason that people saw Joe Biden's economy as being a bad economy is because the middle class is no longer the middle class. What we now have is we have the impoverished, and then we have the lower middle class, which are the impoverished, and then we have the middle class, which are the working poor. The middle class is not the middle class. They are the working poor. They work paycheck to paycheck, and they continue to go into debt every single year. They never save anything. Now, the upper middle class is now the middle class. Because the upper middle class is now the middle class, now the middle class is smaller. The reason that it felt so bad to be middle class or below under Joe Biden's economy, one was because of COVID and a pandemic, and the fact that we were literally skipping across the surface of a recession, which Joe Biden did a great job of keeping us out of. That the Fed, Jerome Powell, not that I give two shits about that dude, but he kept us out of a recession. The reason that it felt so bad was because of the pandemic, and because the middle class continues to bear a unfair burden, a completely unfair burden. The engine of this country, the middle class, continues to be the only people that are paying into social safety nets at a percentage of wealth that harms them. The middle class continues to bear the burden of social safety nets and the burden of the greater share of their wealth to pay the taxes to keep this country running. And that's not the way it's supposed to be. The reason that this economy sucks for the middle class and below is because the ultra wealthy does not pay the amount of money that it should be paying. There should be no cap on Social Security. There should be taxes on unrealized capital gains. There should be a progressive tax that continues to move higher and higher the more money that you make. And every fucking loophole that these people abuse should be closed, and they should be fined for abusing them. The IRS should have 80,000 more employees. You know why? Because the IRS gets $7 back from the ultra wealthy for every dollar they spend. The IRS, on the other hand, when you have people that make less than $200,000 a year, the IRS makes $1 for every dollar they spend. So them going after people in the middle class doesn't even make sense. This is why Donald Trump wants to fund ICE, but wants to defund the IRS. And it's the same reason that when a liberal president or a Democratic president is in office, they want to fund the IRS, and they don't put a ton of money into ICE. Mind you, Joe Biden did attempt to put more money into the border with a Republican bill, which they got rid of. Anyways. The way we have a better economy for me and you is not by voting for Donald Trump. It's the exact opposite. It was for voting for Kamala Harris.
When did you realize this would affect you?
It really hit me about 2 weeks into my layoff, because at first it was like, yeah, these layoffs should only last 1 or 2 weeks. And then the 4th week came around, and that's when it really hit me that we might be in for no work for a while.
Braden is one of 66 apprentices in his union who've been laid off since April. He's now on a waiting list for the next job, with nearly 30 people ahead of him.
I've seen 3 people move off that list in the last 60 days. In summer, usually everyone's employed. Usually there's enough work that everyone's employed. Right now, seeing only 3 people move in 60 days, it's bleak.
Oh, it's going to get worse.
I will terminate the Green New scam immediately. It's the greatest scam.
They love to have the guys standing behind them in the hard hats when they have a press conference, but when it comes to doing the actual policy that will actually help us, we have that policy in place right now. It's the IRA. It's helped bring more people into the trades. It's helped us get paid more, and this is across the board. The policy's in place. If you just let the policy survive, we'll be fine.
This is a great bill. This is going to be a great bill for the country.
I think he could swallow his pride. He's cutting the things that Joe Biden did that made labor so good in the name of,
oh, you're almost there, brother.
I don't like Joe Biden, so I don't want to stand for anything he stood for.
Oh, he's almost there.
But you shouldn't be cutting something that your predecessor did that was good because he's your predecessor. You should continue to build on the good things he did. If it's creating jobs, if it's boosting the economy, why get rid of it?
We all know the answer to that question. He just said the answer to the question. Look, Braden, you'll never see this video, but Braden, if you do see this video, my dude, we don't want you to do bad. We want you to learn the lesson, and we want you to do better in the future. But I don't think, I mean, for as mad as we get, right? And I know some of you are like, fuck you. I hope that dude goes poor. I know that. I understand. Like I said, we agree on everything. Braden, man, I don't want to see you broke. I don't want to see your kid not eating. But you also got to admit that what you did, who you voted for, it was stupid, man. It was a mistake. And you need to say at least to yourself, and specifically, I think the country needs this. You need to say this to everybody else, too. I was wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with saying the words, I was wrong. We have a thing in America, American exceptionalism, right? We're always number one. We're always the best. We never do anything wrong. American exceptionalism. We won every war, even the ones we didn't. Always American exceptionalism. People in America always say, failure is not an option. Hear that in the military a lot. Failure is not an option. Your bosses. Failure is not an option. Failure is not only an option, it's actually an incredibly important part of your narrative. It's what builds character. It's what makes you understand that you know, how do you make something better without trying? You know that if you don't try, if you don't get up and you don't go out and you don't try, then you'll never get better at it. And that even goes into doing things like this. Like I said, I've only been very political for probably about 2.5, 3 years. Joe Biden was the first president that I voted for, because I came out of the trailer park and I was like, I had the same opinion so many people had. My vote doesn't matter. 2 wings, 1 bird, brother. That was me. That's who I was. Like, if you would have said 9/11, I'd been like, inside job, brother. I used to have a Bakersfield accent too, so. You gotta admit when you're wrong, man. You gotta say to yourself, you know, one of the examples that I use almost constantly were my views on trans people. Like, even as recently as 10 or 15 years ago, I'd be having conversations with my wife, and she would say, well, you say you're not homophobic. She said, you say that you have lots of gay friends, you know, all the cliches, guys. And she would say, but the things that you believe about transgender people, and I wasn't trying to be a bad person at the time, right? I was just ignorant. I didn't say, you know, the things that MAGA says about trans people. But I did say things like, oh, it's mental illness though. Like, you just got to understand, like, these people need, like, they need help and they're not trying to get that. And she's like, how do you have the opinion that you support the gay people that you say you love, but then you have these opinions of trans people? And because I love and respect my wife so much, and because she can look at me in a certain way, I was like, I should probably actually be a little better educated on the subject. You know how I was educated back then? Joe Rogan. I watched a lot of Joe Rogan back in those days. And, you know, even back then, he wasn't like fully what he is today, but he'd ask that question. Like, isn't it mental illness though, bro? And, you know, because of that, I read into a bunch of NIH studies. And I watched a lot of videos on you know, transgenderism. And I met transgender people coming on here. And now I have transgender subscribers, and I have transgender friends. And I actually grew up with a transgender person, by the way, a long ass time ago, like 30 plus years ago. Okay. And I thought, oh, I know something, right? I know things. I grew up with a transgender person. I know all about it, guys. You have no idea. I am the fucking expert on transgenderism, right? And it gave me a confidence to be a fucking idiot, is what it did. And, you know, over time, looking at stuff, talking to people, hearing opinions, reading, watching, I was like, you know what? I'm a fucking idiot. And I am wrong, and I should apologize. And because of that, I feel like I've become a better person. You know, like, people do deserve a path to redemption. And I do think that at times on the left, that when people are asked to leave the party, when you disagree with them, that too quickly does that door get closed. And the problem with that is that on the right, there's an open door policy. See, the two sides of the political spectrum are very different in how they manage their party. On the left, you can be here, but if you disagree a little too much, you got to leave. And if you leave, the door closes, because then we don't want to be hypocrites. We don't want to be seen as a person accepting somebody that made a racist joke. Or we don't want to be seen as somebody that can't accept that somebody might have grown away from the ignorant opinions that they had, because they literally still do have empathy for people, but they are uneducated. Because being ignorant is an excuse, but being willfully ignorant is not an excuse. And that door should stay closed for people that are willfully ignorant. That door should stay closed for people that have said one thing and done another. Because your actions, your apology doesn't matter if your actions don't back it up. But on the right, the thing about the right is they got an open door. I don't even think they have a door. And you can come on over and say all the crazy shit you want. You can drop the R word, the N word. You can make edgy jokes. I put that in air quotes because it's not edgy, dog. And you can hang out for as long as you want. Now, if you try to leave, they do have a guard at the gate. So the left boots you and then closes the door. The right has a wide open ass door and you can walk the fuck in and you're like, there isn't even a door on this. I like this. I can do whatever I want. I can leave anytime I want. I can leave anytime I want. And then you turn around and you're like, you think, actually, I think I've had enough. Maybe this is too much racism for me. And you go to walk out and there's about 10 or 20 MAGA supporters standing right there. And they're like, we give you money, motherfucker. And if you leave, you will never see another dollar ever in your life. Ask Tim Pool. Remember when Tim Pool made the joke about supporting RFK Jr.? And people went on him. Ask Joe Rogan. Remember when Joe Rogan showed support for RFK Jr. before Trump accepted him into the fold? Joe Rogan got that smoke too. Ask Kyle Rittenhouse. Ask Kyle Rittenhouse about that. They all learn there might not be a door, but there's definitely a guard at the gate. It's pretty insane. Where are we at here? Let's see. Let's do this. Let's do this. I want to share one more video with you guys before we go because he's my dude. He's my dude. I really love this man. Now I want to show this to you guys because this is my guys. Ooh, old man pushing buttons. Ooh. So being that I come out of the trailer park, being that I grew up in one of the most country places you can in California, what I really like to see is country people that are not MAGA. Like, you know, it's like the idea of the cowboy is this like chivalrous human being that like takes care of others and like he's the leader of his family and, you know, puts food on the table and all that stuff. You know, the way I grew up, that it always seemed like that was a facade. It always seemed like that. It always seemed like, you know, all I saw growing up was abuse, domestic violence, men that cheated on their wives, you know, like I saw the worst of it. So seeing people like Trey Crowder, like Texas Paul, like Tennessee Brando, really does my heart well to see these guys standing up and saying to people like, that's not me, and I refuse to accept that that's what what is represented by the country folk. So I love Trey Crowder. Got a little bit of time left here before we got to go, and I wanted you guys to watch a little bit of this video from Trey Crowder. He's a dope human being, and if you don't follow him, you definitely should. He's also funny as shit. So let's check it out.
Well, a lot happened this week. First, the horrible floods in Texas, about which both sides have their arguments. On the left, they said, is it possible these catastrophes are happening more often, at least partly due to our insistence on violently sodomizing the environment, and also that reckless government cuts can only serve to make us less equipped to deal with them? And on the right, they say, what kind of woke bullshit is that? Obviously, the Jews use their secret weather machine to flood Texas and make Trump look bad. Idiot. So it's tough to know who to believe there.
Did you guys see Kristi Noem? You guys see Kristi Noem? Kristi Noem said, they said, what about this tragedy that happened in Texas? And she said, well, you know, it is a tragedy, but what we want to focus on is that God saved hundreds of people from this flood. And the first thing I thought to myself is, wow, God only saved those people he didn't want to help them children out? Does God, is God, did he not have time? Does he not have the National Weather Service either? Is the NOAA defunded for Jesus? I was like, because it seems a little awkward that God saved a bunch of people, but he was like, fuck them kids. Fuck them kids. It's insane to say shit like that. I don't think these people ever think about the shit that comes out their mouth and how ridiculous that it sounds. God's omnipotent, but he doesn't have complete and total power. Oh wait, that's what the word means. I can't wrap my mind.
I mean, listen, it's hard to say with certainty that that Trump's policies directly contributed to this situation. But I mean, when scientists have been warning us for years that these things would happen more and more, and when meteorologists have warned us for months that Trump's cuts would only make it harder for us to handle them when they do, then I mean, it's like they say, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, then it's probably evil Jew magic. According to Marjorie Taylor Greene, anyway.
Evil Jew magic.
Eschewing the inconvenience of reality in favor of the warm embrace of fanciful anti-Semitism, this week Elon accidentally turned his AI into a robo-Nazi, so that's fun. For a while now, right-wing thought leaders like Cat Turd have complained that Grok was compromised by wokeness due to the chatbot's annoying habit of saying things that were true. So finally, Elon stepped in and he said, we've reprogrammed Grok to ignore all inherently liberal inputs like well-sourced journalism, and he should now more accurately reflect our modern conservative worldview. Then like 3 hours later, Grok was heiling Hitler and fantasizing about sodomizing dissenters. So I'd say he nailed it.
I saw today, he did nail it. It was like exactly what you would expect. I saw today that Grok somebody got him to fantasize about assaulting a person on Twitter. And that person now is suing Elon Musk for that shit. And that, guys, is the story that I'm here for. That is why I stay in this game, for those types of stories, guys.
That wasn't the only comically over-the-top illustration of how wrong and dumb MAGA is about stuff that we got this week. For years now, MAGA's told us that Daddy Trump was going to blow the Epstein thing wide open, finally expose the Clinton-led shadowy cabal of liberal elite pedophiles and bring them to justice once and for all. And we said, probably not. I mean, have you seen how often Trump pops up in the flight logs and pictures of Epstein and stuff? He's like the Where's Waldo of perverts. And they said, well, I don't like that, and so it's not real. Right, and finally this week, Trump's DOJ came out and they said, it's over, he killed himself, there's no list, nothing to see here. And Trump is treating the whole thing like Ted Cruz treats a Texas tragedy, just staying as far away as possible. Who'd have thunk it? Me. I'd have thunk it. Y'all to thunk it, I bet. Basically, anybody who thinks probably would have thunk it. But MAGA, though, they're reeling from this. And I'm not saying they're wrong.
I'm just saying. Anybody that was on my stream last night knows that every once in a while MAGA people come into my chat and I like to roast them, right? I love that shit. That's literally how I got all the subscribers that I have. I don't do it enough anymore because they don't really come around as often. They're scared. God, I love doing it though. God, I love doing it. But this guy comes in my chat. He's a guy he's been trolling me for probably a year or two. And I was like, just do me one favor, man. When this is all over, like at this point, you're not redeemable. You're not going to be redeemable. You're a garbage ass human being. Do me one favor. Please do me this one favor. Donate your brain to science. Like, the football players, like when a football player dies and they look at the brain and they see the CTE and they start to figure out what happened to these people. What happened to these people? These football players, these UFC fighters, to make them lose their damn mind. Like, just do me one fucking favor, MAGA. Before you go, make sure that everybody's okay with you donating your brain to science. Because we need to look at that shit, because I am 100% sure, guys, that they do not possess a fully functioning prefrontal lobe or cortex. I'm pretty sure. I'd put money on it.
About there being more to the Epstein thing. I'm sure there is. It's just the idea that Donald Trump was ever going to do anything about it, rather than being an active participant, was asinine. It's just another example of the universe slapping MAGA across the face and screaming at them to wake up to what's actually happening. But alas, being woke is gay. They so prefer the comfort of their shared dream world, and that would be fine if the forces that operate their little MAGA matrix weren't burning the real world down in the process. But they are, and so on we fight.
Yep. And that's what I say to all the lefties that come into my chat when I first started doing this. And they're like, you're mean. You shouldn't make fun of the way these people look. They're mentally ill. And I say, look, you can be insane, and I don't have a fucking problem with that, man. Like, I feel for you, actually. I have empathy. Look, a lot of people in my family are insane. All of us are insane. But you can be insane. That's totally fine. I hope you find the help that you need. And yeah, you're right. If you are a person that has mental illness, then I should not be insulting you. I should not be a person that's coming on camera and just making fun of you. But here's the problem. Here's the problem with MAGA. And that is, we all live in the insane asylum together. And MAGA is the type of insane that goes and finds a can of gas and some rags and a lighter and lights the fucking place on fire. See, I don't mind living in the insane asylum. I don't mind having empathy for people that have had bad lives, have been abused, that have histories of mental illness in their family. I have empathy for those people. But the moment that you pull the fucking gas can out, start dumping the gasoline on the floor, I am coming straight for your ass. I am going to spear tackle you into the fucking counter. I am going to take away your lighter. I am going to take away your fucking gas can. I am going to tie you the fuck up, and I am going to call for an orderly. And yeah, I might even laugh while I'm doing it. Because it's fucking absurd to burn down the fucking mental health institute while we are all in it, trying to just do the best we can to act like this shit ain't crazy.
YouTube, what's so frustrating about these stories and all the other ones is you never know how it's going to be presented to you and how each different source in the media is going to look at it and put the information out there. And let me show you what I'm talking about.
Like, say, for example, if you just happened across this article with this headline, no evidence Jeffrey Epstein kept a client list or was murdered
Trey,
in jail.
I love you, Trey,
FBI
but we don't have
report
time for this,
says
brother.
it's just bare bones. You just read that headline, you're like, oh, wow.
Try ground news today for us out. You can try it.
We only got 10 minutes left, Trey.
Either way, the time is now.
Join ground news. Trey loves ground noise.
News.
So do I.
People think or expect. I don't know how their brains work. I think they just think anything that they don't understand is either not real or unnecessary. Like this whole thing, with like cuts to the National Weather Service or NOAA. And they're like, we don't need that stuff. People look at it and they're like, well, what, they fired some hydrologists? Who the hell knows what a hydrologist is? What's a hydrologist got to do with all this flood shit that happens? It's like probably something pretty, I don't know exactly either, but I would assume something. I don't think they're just there. I think that, it's not a coincidence that as we figured more and more of these things out about the weather and stuff, that fewer people died for weather reasons every year until our own carbon output caught up to us. And now we're trying to run all that back. But still, I think that these things, the government isn't just there to take your taxes and shoot it out of a cannon. Like some things they actually, I don't know where these people think that like roads come from. How do roads happen? How do they think that roads happen? Or fire departments, or like when you get a warning on your phone, hey, everywhere's on fire, you need to leave. Who do you think is doing that? Like Bezos? Just because?
Dude, you know that they do, though. You know that's what they do think. You guys know that, like, immediately after the floods, Marjorie Taylor Greene started talking about Jewish space lasers. Okay, it wasn't Jewish space lasers. Cloud seeding, right? You know that now MAGA is spreading the conspiracy theory that cloud seeding led to the flooding in Texas. Now, anybody that understands cloud seeding understands that, for the most part, cloud seeding is a science that does not work nearly as well as we'd like it to, or else weather would be better. I'm also a person that is not 100% for cloud seeding, right? I think that it's not a great idea to tamper with the environment. So you can get me on board with some cloud seeding conspiracies even, right? Like, you guys can get me on board. I will listen. I will pay attention, all right? But the thing that I like to do is I like to see, I'm a little bit interested in this thing. I should probably find a counterpoint of view to see if it's true, and I go and see. So I found a meteorologist that is in Texas who seems like a pretty intelligent guy. He's a professional. He's been doing it for years. And he debunked it. But the funniest fucking thing about all of this is, guys, the guy who is the owner of the company that seeded the clouds, which, by the way, are about 150 miles away from the place that was flooded. The guy who owns the company is Peter Thiel, guys. Peter fucking Thiel. It's hard to have a liberal conspiracy theory when the guy who owns the company that seeded the clouds happens to be the guy who helped J.D. Vance become a senator and then later become Donald Trump's vice president. I don't know how these people make their brains work, or even if they ever do. Sometimes I imagine it's like a car with a bad battery. It's a cold day. They jump in that motherfucker, they turn the ignition over, and it just goes, That's what I literally think MAGA hears that sound in their brain when they try to think on their own. Like when MAGA tries to think on their own, I think the sound that they hear in their head is, and then Trump says something, and that fucker revs right up. Boom! Boom! They're ready to go. That's this the only way I can explain this shit.
I just don't understand what they think or how their brains work. You know what I mean? Because they can't understand that, but they can very easily wrap their heads around the idea that, no, actually, it's Jewish people turning the clouds into instruments of cultural warfare with some space-age sci-fi machine in the sky with cloaking technology or whatever. It's like, yeah, that makes more sense to you than a government-funded hydrologist. How? What? And then the thing is, it's like with so many things with them, it's like there's like a kernel of truth to it because there is, there's such a thing as cloud seeding. Mm-hmm. So they see that and like, say, we told you, Jewish cloud magic. It's like, no.
Jewish cloud magic.
It's just, in places that need rain, it's an effort to try to make it rain 10% more if they're lucky. That's all it is. And they're like, what? Why would you ever need a reason to make it rain? It's like, what? They're like, yeah, it don't make no sense. They're up to something. There ain't no good reason to make it rain. It's like, you mean the thing?
They have never heard of the Dust Bowl. They've never heard of it. Because like I said, these fuckers have never picked up a book in their entire life. They don't know about TB or the yellow fever. They don't know about anything. Let's just stop there. Like, not a single one of these people understand. Like, these are people that believe that climate change isn't real. Oh, why isn't climate change real? Because God, okay? Because God. I mean, okay. So why are there only two genders? Because God. Okay. Why is Donald Trump president? Because God. Like, wait, do you even go to church, bro? Well, I still believe in God.
Thing that cultures across the globe have been trying to figure out, the nut they've been trying to crack since mankind realized that sky water make ground food grow good.
Ground food grow.
That thing, why would we try to figure that out today? The thing that humanity's been trying to figure out for centuries now? I don't know. Probably food reasons, but they don't get, I think they just think that food just shows up in the grocery store. It's like that too. My buddy said the other day he met a papaw at a park who was talking about how, spreading the good word that people don't know that Mexicans can go to the government office and get given a free kiddie pool and cooler full of beer anytime they want to. They just cross the border and then get drunk in a kiddie pool and that's all that happens. It's like, he says it's while eating an apple that he got at the store or something. It's like, you just don't have any concept of how anything ever works, do you? And then things that don't and can't work, like Jewish weather machines, make perfect sense in your mind. And I just don't know how that can be. And worse, more importantly, I don't know what, if anything, we can ever or will ever do about that, frankly, especially when you got, near sentient robot computer Nazis running around making things even worse propaganda-wise. I don't know.
I don't think you wanted to say it, but you gotta say it. It's Mecha Hitler, bro. It literally named itself. It named itself Mecha Hitler. Like, this is the dumbest fucking timeline. It is, like, astoundingly high levels of stupidity. Like, there just isn't a chart for how dumb shit is right now. Like, we are off the chart, right? Like, the chart, this is where it is. We're, like, up here somewhere. And we're just growing by the day. Because I want to believe, guys, that we have reached max capacity for stupidity. But I don't think that that's true. I 100% believe that there is more to come. And we haven't even seen the worst. It's like, this isn't the stupidest thing ever. It is the stupidest thing so far. So far. It can get worse, and I guarantee you, it's only been 6 months, guys. It's only been 6 months.
Grim outlook for sure, but hey, what are you going to do? At least it's record-breaking heat wave across most of the country right now. We're all sweating our asses off in the middle of all this, you know, so everything's fine. I know I keep doing it. Well, I mean, no, everything's not fine, but I'm saying we'll be all right. It's okay. We'll get there. Anyway, I appreciate y'all watching. Thank you. We put these things up here as my special trash daddy.
Oh, he's never good at this.
Down here.
He never does good at this.
Subscribe to the channel. You can see all these videos and my cooking videos and stand-up clips and podcasts and other things. And then down here, the important one to me, TreyCrowder.com.
There it goes. Good job, Trey.
Links for tickets, tour dates where I'm coming as a stand-up comedian. That's what I really do. I travel around the country doing stand-up comedy, so check that out. If I'm coming near you, get a ticket, come see me. It's a fun time.
Damn right. And don't forget to go subscribe to Trey. I'll put it in the chat. Every once in a while, I'm surprised by somebody that doesn't know who Trey is. Every once in a while. So here you guys go. Don't forget to go sub to Trey. Trey is one of the funniest fucking people on the internet. It's between him and Titus. Him and Christopher Titus. And me, of course. I'm definitely up there. I've never done stand-up in my life. All I do is make fun of MAGA on the internets. But I've been successful enough to get 25,000 subscribers. So it doesn't pay any bills, but it does pay something, just not very much. I'm literally the don't quit your day job guy. Well, this is what I'll say, guys. There's a lot of stupidity. There's a lot of dumb shit that's going on. But Pastor Benjamin really, really hit the nail on the head. And that is, like, without you guys, without the ability to band up and have, like, such a loud voice because such a amazing community, things would be a lot worse. If it wasn't for all of the people right now speaking up against the things that are going on in this society currently under Trump's administration, and even before it, even during Biden's administration with what happened in Israel and Gaza, even before that in Bush's administration with the WMDs. If you don't have solidarity across all silos, if you don't have people that work the lanes but can reach across to each other and help each other when it's necessary, things can be a lot worse. And right now, things would be a lot worse if it wasn't for you guys doing what you do. So I just wanted to say to everybody that watches the show, that hangs out, like, I really do appreciate you guys. For all of you guys that watch Matt's show, the Left Past 10 show, Mike's show over on the Humanist Report, Trey Crowder's show, Christopher Titus's show, Adam Mockler, David Packman, Kyle Kalinski's show. For all of you guys that do the work and support people, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for everything that you do. Don't forget that there's more to watch after I'm off here. Don't forget to subscribe and like on the channel. And if you are on my channel watching, I don't know if it's still up over there or not, but if you're over there, please come to this space. You might even see me in the chat after I get off of here as I go up and go hang out with my wife. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody that was here and that I appreciate you. And don't forget the message. We do this through solidarity, and we do this without backing down from the bullshit that MAGA has just been pushing out on us ad nauseum. All right, guys. Really appreciate you guys. Let's see if I can find... Let's get rid of this for you. Boom. All right, guys. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. And I hope to see you guys next time.
You're in some deep, deep pain that money can't fix. Am I right? You came over here for fellowship and love.
My mother, she just passed.
Last year in October, we covered an entire month of vampire movies, and the hits keep coming. In January, Robert Eggers released his long-awaited gothic horror, Nosferatu, an adaptation of the 1922 German silent horror film, which was in itself an unlicensed adaptation of Bram Stoker's novel Dracula. The story of Dracula has been told over and over again, including by Coppola in Bram Stoker's Dracula. We also talked about Robert Rodriguez's From Dusk Till Dawn, a pretty unique vampire film, written by Quentin Tarantino. Tonight we're going to talk about the newest vampire film, Ryan Coogler's Sinners, which the director of Black Panther and Creed wrote, produced, and directed as a passion project. Coogler wrote a letter about his inspirations when writing the screenplay that he reached to, and Robert Rodriguez, Coppola, and Tarantino are on that list. And it's been pointed out a bunch, so this movie does share some similarities with From Dusk Till Dawn.
Why you need him to do that? You big and strong enough to push past us?
Well, that wouldn't be too polite now, would it, Miss Annie? I don't know why I'm talking to you anyway.